This is the Consciously Created brand with me, Kirsty McGill. The Consciously Created brand is for the artists, creators, makers and curators, consciously creating businesses that aim to do better, putting planet and people over profit. If you've ever felt that mainstream marketing can kind of feel a bit unethical, or the certain strategies or things that you've seen people suggest don't feel right to you, if you wish that your marketing could be more joyful and that it could do good and be good and feel fun and easy, then today's episode is for you. I was really excited to be talking to Karen from Goodness Marketing. We had a really great conversation with lots of things that made me think slightly differently than I had, some points I hadn't considered. So I think you'll get a lot from this episode. Karen Webber is a marketing strategist with specific focus on ethical marketing. As the owner of Goodness Marketing, Karen helps small businesses with big hearts do marketing that feels good, does good, and gets good results. She is also part of the team behind The Ethical Move, creating a movement around ethical marketing. Originally from a seaside town in South Africa, Karen now finds herself living on the edge of the Peak District, where she makes up for the lack of ocean by spending as much time as possible outside in the hills or in water. Before starting Goodness Marketing in 2017, Karen worked as a marketing director for a marketing agency. Previously, she worked in various editorial and comms roles in London, Manchester, and her native South Africa. During her career, Karen has educated thousands of people in various settings on aspects of good marketing. With that intro, now let's get on to the episode. Hi Karen, I'm really excited to talk to you today and get to know a little bit more about you and your business, Goodness Marketing. So let's get started with some questions. I'm interested to hear a bit more about your background, how you got into marketing, and I know you got started initially in editorial and communication roles. So how did the transition happen?
Yeah, well, thanks first of all for having me. I'm really pleased to be here. So I started my career in South Africa where I grew up, and I studied journalism and marketing and comms and started in like comms roles there. I soon realized journalism wasn't for me, or traditional sort of newspaper journalism wasn't for me. And then I came to the UK and I started working as a content writer in a marketing agency where I ended up working for 12 years, but sort of went from the editorial side to, after having my first child, they asked me to take on the marketing for the marketing agency, and which I did. So for about 5 years, I really learned on the job what marketing is like, certainly in that context. And I soon, for me anyway, I became very aware of mainstream marketing operating in a way that's quite at odds with me and who I am and like my values as a person. And that's when I sort of started thinking about starting my own business, doing things my way, following my marketing philosophy, because it's very hard. And I know you've worked in agencies as well, and I've listened to you on the podcast before talking about sort of how things were at odds when you have to do something a certain way. And for me, it just kind of became untenable, I suppose. And that's why I started the business 5.5 years ago now, to do marketing my way, in a way that I believe works for businesses and that feels good to the people who do the marketing and the people on the receiving end of the marketing. So for me, I guess coming from that background of editorial and comms, it didn't feel like a huge jump when I started doing marketing. For me, marketing is very much about relationships and about good communication and clear communication. So that stood me in really good stead, that ability to write really well and to communicate and understand sort of relationship building at scale, which is how I see marketing.
Yeah, that makes sense actually. That and you said, of course, you have got a bit of the marketing within your studies as well, which I didn't
Yeah.
realize. But like you say, I guess especially from a sort of more ethical marketing perspective, where it is about building relationships and maybe avoiding some of the tactics that aren't as ethical. So,
Yeah.
what sort of things did you notice then that made you first get interested in ethical marketing? Were there some like sort of strategies and tactics that didn't feel right, or was it just the overall approach? Can you tell me a bit more?
The overall approach felt gross to me because it was very much, for me anyway, it felt very manipulative. So going back to now working in an agency, it felt very manipulative. It felt, speaking of relationships, very one way, so that there's one party who wanted to get stuff from the other party and would do anything to get that. So I had to do things like I feel like in that agency, there was a lot of like data mining in order to be able to target people better. And there was no sort of consideration, I think, for the end user, or very little consideration for the end user. So it was very much content for the sake of content. I mean, with almost no training, with no training whatsoever, I was writing what I now see was financial advice. Bearing in mind, I'd been in the UK for like 6 months, and all of a sudden I was writing about interest rates and mortgages and stuff. There's no consideration for the end user and whether the output was actually quality. So for me, that was problematic. I also noticed, and this is a very much a marketing thing, that the whole language in marketing is very about getting stuff from people. There's lots of military terms being used in marketing. So even things like strategy and campaign, that's like a military strategy and a campaign and attack. And we talk about target audience and capturing leads. It's quite it's just the kind of mainstream marketing mindset, which when I started noticing those things, I was like, this is not who I am, and it's not what I want to contribute to with my skills, because I knew I was good at marketing. I knew I was good at writing and all of these things. And I thought, if I've been given these talents and skills, why would I use it for evil if I can use it for good? So in terms of tactics, I think it's kind of a murky area. I used to kind of feel like that's a good tactic and that's a bad tactic. Like you could easily put it in boxes. And I don't believe that anymore. I think there's a lot of nuance involved. So I am involved with an organization called The Ethical Move. So I'm part of the team behind The Ethical Move, creating conversations around ethical marketing and community around ethical marketing. And it's a global organization. And when I first pledged, so before I was part of the team, there was a list of tactics that was like, this is bad, this is the opposite, let's do these things. And they really resonated with me. And then I joined the team and we realized that it isn't quite so black and white. There's a lot of nuance involved. So one of the first tactics that was on the pledge was charm pricing. So to say that we won't use charm pricing, which is, if you're not familiar with the term, where we price things, and we see this a lot, like you price it at £297, and that plays on, it's called the left digit effect. So it's a psychological tactic to make our brains are so strange, because they see 297 and they look at the digit on the left and they go, well, that's close to £200, when logically, it's £3 off. It's basically £300. So that was the first tactic. But then we started looking at some other tactics, things like countdown timers, for example. And when we first started with The Ethical Move, we said that's wrong. It's wrong to have something there to say you only have so much time and here's the ticker ticking. And for me, that was very black and white, because it's stress inducing when you go on a website and there's things going like, you have to buy now, otherwise you're going to miss out. And it plays on that FOMO. But the more we kind of talked about it as a team, and also as the team grew and other people came into the team with different perspectives, we realized that there are some sections of society that find, for example, countdown timers incredibly useful. So lots of people with neurodivergence want that countdown timer, and told us they actually find it helpful because they don't find it easy to go, the time will be up soon, or to see a date and to make that connection that there's limited time. And this triggered an amazing conversation in The Ethical Move and among the team about whether or not it's right to actually put tactics in boxes of good or bad, and that there's more at play. There's intent behind it. There's integrity. What we want to see is taking conscious decisions and putting the person before the sale. So that's when we kind of started working on our intention pledge, which changes from these tactics are right, these are wrong, which is a very patriarchal kind of part of the oppressive systems in which we live, which we actually want to dismantle. That's very much about you're doing it right, you're doing it wrong, we know more than you and we'll tell you how to do it. So we've changed the pledge in the ethical move to be more nuanced, I guess more open to interpretation, but to give the agency to the people who implement the marketing.
Oh, interesting. So actually, I hadn't realized that that had changed. So I signed it, I think it probably would have been around March or April last year.
Yeah.
And it definitely had the things that you were mentioning, like the talking about the charm pricing and the countdown timers. So to be honest, I hadn't really realized. I follow on Instagram and I think I'm on the newsletters, but I hadn't really realized that the nuance had changed slightly.
Yes.
And I think, like you say, it probably is about it. It all does depend. I mean, the charm pricing is something that I thought, oh, I don't want to do that, and I'll try and avoid. And I think, as you say, it's like people kind of know what's happening, but it also can be your brain goes, ah, okay, it's slightly better price than it is. But it probably is then about who you're speaking to and whether that is a problem or not. And
Yeah.
same with the countdowns. I was thinking, as you said it, I find them kind of stressful, but also sometimes it's helpful. So it depends. If it's one where you've got to make a decision in like 20 minutes, I don't like that personally. But one where it's like you've got a few days so you can think and make a kind of educated choice, but you can still go back to the sales page and see, okay, right, I've got that time. For me, then that is helpful.
And I guess from the point of view of the person doing the marketing, it is about considering who's going to come to this page and how can I help them to make a decision about this transaction that's right for them.
Mm.
So I agree with you. Giving, like, if you are going to give people a few days time to make a decision, that feels kind to me, but it will be different for every business. And I think that's the point where we landed with the ethical move, is that we wanted to make sure that buyers have agency and that the people doing the selling consider not just I have to make the sale at all costs. And actually, for the longest time, we talked about the importance of slowing down the sale. And it's something we just took almost for granted. Like, yes, of course, it's a better thing to slow down the sale for everybody. And then we had someone join the team who just said to us that's a very privileged, I mean, in kindness, she came to us with a wonderful just statement that blew our minds. Slowing down the sale and having the option to slow down the sale is quite a privileged position to be in, to go, I don't need to make the sale right now. So for us who are trying to build a global movement around ethical marketing, it was very interesting to get this perspective from somebody from a different culture to what most of us were at the time, and just say, for some people, they need to put food on the table today. And that's when the idea was born of our community. And it's one of the, which we launched last year, and it's one of the bits of the ethical move that I love the most, is this kind of learning out in the open idea, where we don't go, we know all the right answers and we're going to tell others, but that we can go, hang on, we got that wrong. For example, we wanted to create a standard similar to fair trade or organic for ethical marketing. And through conversation and through community with each other in the team and others in the industry, we were able to see that that's not going to work. So to be part of a team that can go, hang on, we got it wrong, or we want to change, how we thought about this, we've got new information on the table, has been just so rewarding. So then we launched our community last year, and it's wonderful to learn about ethical marketing with others who deeply care about the same things. And we're all just figuring it out. I feel ethical marketing as a concept is still quite new. And to be able to learn and improve and learn from others in that community is a wonderful thing. So things are always changing.
Yeah. No, I was just going to say, like, it must be good to then be able to open up that conversation and get different perspectives and like wider conversations around it. I'm guessing, like you say, it's quite new, so it probably isn't at the moment sort of discussed in marketing courses particularly. I'm sure they do obviously, I'm sure, touch on ethics, but not in the way that the ethical move are talking about it.
I think there are some actually. So I've definitely seen some universities who offer courses that have ethical marketing in it. I've personally been asked to speak at a university about the topic. So it does feel like there is a shift happening where it is becoming more of a topic. And I do think consumers and people who are going to uni, maybe younger people now, and there is more of an awareness about ethics in general. And I think people who are going to uni now, I went to uni like 25 years ago, and that was just not something that crossed my mind. Whereas nowadays, I think people are a lot more aware and they expect a lot better from businesses as well. And I think that tide is changing, definitely.
That's true, actually. And I suppose there's a lot more kind of transparency being demanded of businesses as well. And people will sort of notice if they're doing things that don't feel right. So,
Exactly.
how did you actually get involved with the ethical move then?
So I took the pledge
Mhm.
years ago, maybe 4 years or so ago. And then about 3 years ago, the founder, Alice Carolina, had come across my work, I guess on social media, and she contacted me, and I was mega flattered because I was proper fangirling, which she's a wonderful person. And she contacted me and asked me to be part of the team. So that's how I became involved in the team. And the team's grown quite a bit since I've joined. And just wonderful people are attracted to the movement. And like I said before, I just keep learning so much from other people in the community and just sort of in general through like people pledging and then seeing these wonderful businesses. So yeah, it's been really a wonderfully enriching thing, not just for my business, but for me personally, to be, because I used to think I'm the only one. So when I worked in this agency and felt really at odds with how they were doing marketing and how we were expected to do marketing, I thought I was the weird one. And I mean, maybe I was, there's nothing wrong with that. But I thought I must be the only person, and there must be something wrong with me that I see marketing in this way that's so different to everybody else. And it was incredibly reassuring for me to realize, A, that my sort of philosophy or how I instinctively felt I wanted to do marketing actually had a name tag. It was called ethical marketing. And there were loads of other people like me out there in the world. And again, this is what we're trying to do with the community, is to have a place where people can feel less alone and can explore the concept of ethical marketing.
Yeah, I think you can also then bring it back into your own work, and things that you learn from there, you're able to then pass on to even more people through the work that you're doing. So that's great. I think like for a lot of people, they think of marketing as a bit like what, just another thing to get off their to-do list, or they don't really want to be doing it, but they know they have to promote their business. And aside from, or maybe as part of the ethical considerations, you talk about making marketing more joyful, and obviously with your name being Goodness Marketing. Um, so how do you help people to achieve that, and what services do you offer?
Well, first of all, I would say I really do get that people feel ugh about marketing. I've been there, like I said, I've done that toxic marketing. It does feel gross. But I have really reframed, and this is how I help people, is by reframing their idea of marketing, moving away from it having to, or thinking about it as something you have to do, to something that you get to do. And I see the transformation in my clients where they really own who they are, really understand who they are as business owners, as a business, really deeply understand who they're for and really care about them. And I know you've talked on the podcast about purpose before, and it is about understanding your purpose and being so passionate about it that almost it just bubbles out anyway. So yeah, for me, it's really about understanding who you are and trusting your intuition, because so much of mainstream marketing, like for me, where I thought I was wrong and I'm the only one, and it was because my intuition and my instinct about what was right was being silenced by all this noise about how we should be doing marketing. So I really like to work with my clients to shift this perspective from you should do all of these things and this is how you do marketing, to really be able to listen to their inner voice and to understand their business, understand the people that they sell to or want to sell to, and really serve them. And because I really believe marketing can be an act of generosity rather than to be about take, take, take. It's about serving people. It's about being yourself, not pretending, showing up in your marketing, however that may look, as you. And for that reason, attracting the right people to you, so that you're not just as a business like, they'll do because they're the cheapest, or tolerated, or yeah, that will be okay, but that you really attract the people who love you, not in spite of who you are, but because of you being you. So how I work with clients in one-to-ones, we have coaching, or I offer coaching services, power hours, and I help people with strategy as well. And then I also offer workshops and training and group programs, which bring me a lot of joy because, like you say, how my ethical move work impacts on how I can serve my clients. That really is for me about making an impact and having a ripple effect. So I love planting the seeds of, yes, you can do things differently. No, you don't have to do things that feel gross, and showing people not just for it to feel joyful and feel good, but also that it can actually have a positive impact on your business. Because why do marketing if it doesn't serve your business?
Yeah. I think I think it's something that I've sort of been trying to figure out for myself. You go into it and think, right, got to post here and got to share on there, and I should be doing this and that. And it's trying to figure out what works best for your like personality. Or I suppose if people have a team, then maybe that's slightly different because they can outsource or they can delegate it. But especially if it is someone just by themselves, they've got to kind of tailor it to them, as well as what's going to then connect with like the audience, their right audience, their ideal customers. What sort of clients do you tend to work with? Are they individuals? Are they people with staff?
It's a mix. I would say the one thing they have in common is that they genuinely care. The good eggs, they care about their work and they care about the people they serve, the people who buy from them. In terms of size, I've had clients, a lot of my clients are solopreneurs or very, very small teams. The biggest client I've had about 80 to 100 staff. So I worked with a marketing director and then helped her figure out her strategy for them, for the team, and for the marketing of the business. So it's a wide range, but I have a huge passion for solopreneurs and very small businesses. But yeah, the one thing they have in common is that they realize they don't want to do marketing that feels gross, that they're in business for more than just being in business, certainly for more than just profit. So they have a purpose, and that purpose can be lofty and beautiful about saving the world, or it can be to have a happy family home where their work slots in with other responsibilities, which is part of the reason why I set up goodness marketing as well. So it's something that I can really relate to. But yeah, the one thing they have in common, they're genuinely good people, and I feel so privileged. I had a call with somebody this morning, an inquiry call, and I just looked at their website and I just thought, I'm so lucky that people like this want to work with me. So yeah, and there's lots of them out there. There's lots of really good businesses doing really good work. And I love the fact that they're shifting their marketing away from what they should think they should be doing to what they genuinely want to do. Because that's how and again, referring back to the ethical move, we believe that how we sell can change the world, and it can dismantle these oppressive systems which see a few at the top reap the rewards of the oppression of, well, the destruction of the planet and the oppression of so many people. So it's a small cog in the machine, but I love the fact that every day through my work, I'm chipping away at the system. And the more people who keep chipping away, eventually it will have to come down.
Yeah, and that's the thing as well. Like, I want to see, the businesses that are doing better succeed, and with things like marketing, if that will help them obviously get what they're doing out there, and more people, more customers then be drawn to them and work with them, which is ultimately going to do good things. So I love that.
Yeah.
Going back to you said about some workshops, so I saw that you have the wilderness tonic retreat, and like you're
Mm,
saying about the types of people that you work with. So obviously that brings together lots of different business owners in an outdoor setting. Is that
yeah.
right? And
Oh, it is the joy of my life running those retreats. So I run it with Katya Willems, who was an Instagram coach, and that's how we met. And she now has a micro adventure business. So she brings her sense of fun and joy and adventure to it. And we've been running that together since 2019. Our seventh one will be running in April of this year. And we run it in Edale in the Peak District at a beautiful venue where business owners can come for the day. I mean, it's a day-long retreat, and we focus on their business. So they each have the opportunity to bring business problems or challenges to a group of other like-minded individuals. And obviously me and Katya there able to give advice. But also it's about connecting with themselves and connecting with nature, because we're in the foothills of Kinder Scout, the Kinder Peninsula Plateau, and we eat beautiful vegan food, and it's just an absolute joy for the soul and for the body. And I always get so much out of it. It's just one day, but I feel like I've been properly away because it's a new environment. We go for a beautiful walk, we do some mindfulness stuff, and the transformations that people experience on this day are just incredible. The collaborations they make afterwards. We've had people get ideas on the day, and then for example, one was start a podcast, and then a little while later we were listening to her, and we all celebrated together, and then a month later we catch up again with our intentions to see whether people have made progress. And it's just a wonderful community of people who come to these days. So yeah, it's an absolute joy, and I recommend finding something like that for all business owners. So I think it's something most of us don't do enough of, where we don't take that time away from the business every day, just making products or servicing clients, but taking that time away and just go, what am I about? Where do I want to go? And looking just wider than the work as well. So how do I want my work life to feel? How do I want my business to impact on the rest of my life? So yeah, the wilderness tonic is a joy.
it sounds such an amazing way to take a step back, to be around like other like-minded people and have conversations, and sort of just get away from the computer so you can think a bit differently. And yeah,
Yeah.
I love that. So you kind of help to facilitate different conversations as well.
Yes, we do. So, I mean, we tweak the agenda all the time, but we have creative exercises. And like you say, getting away from the computer, doing something out of your comfort zone. Although I must say it's very introvert friendly. It's not no like I don't know, stand up and do an elevator pitch, that sort of thing. So we have really creative exercises. We get quite tactile. We had some drawing exercises, the last one we ran, and we do a lot of listening to each other and reflecting back. So we do an exercise, which I think will keep forever, where when the person brings their business challenge, they just talk for 5 minutes in the group, which is quite hard, talking for just 5 minutes about your business. And the rest of us just stay silent. So the person would talk and really sort of, some of them after 2 minutes, a lot of them after like 4 minutes go, oh, and I don't know what else to say. But it's then when they start like scraping the barrel that the real gems come out. And then for another 5 minutes, we just reflect back what we saw. So we might say, oh, when you talked about that aspect of your business, you know, sat back and like folded your arms, or your face lit up when you talked about this idea. So just reflect back what we see. So that's a really powerful thing. And then, yeah, we go on this beautiful walk and continue the conversations. So yeah, we facilitate a lot of connection, and a lot of there's a lot of thought-provoking things that we do to, yeah, just get people away from their desk, away from the day-to-day. And when we first started planning this at the start of 2019, we wanted to design a day that we wanted to go on, and that we knew that we needed in our business and in our life. And then it's been lovely to, well, with feedback from people, but also just as we've grown as business owners, to tweak the day and just develop it into what it is now.
You also have a program called the Gentle Marketing Reset coming up soon. And I love the subheadings is slow progress is still progress. Can you talk about what the Gentle Marketing Reset is and who it is for?
Sure. I love the Gentle Marketing Reset so much. Probably because it is quite anti-hustle and really embraces that slow aspect of marketing, which we're often told that that's not worthwhile. And if we don't, hustle and work really hard and post every day and keep up a pace, the same pace as everybody else, that it's somehow worth less. So that was kind of why I started this program, and it will be the 7th time that I've run this one as well, or different iterations each time. But for me, the Gentle Marketing Reset is all about learning the simple, or going back to the simple basic foundations of good marketing. So regardless of TikTok or whatever is new or whatever is of the day, it's about going back to what's really important when it comes to relationship building through marketing, away from the noise. And it's about finding your own confidence with your marketing so that you can make decisions based on what's right for you, what's right for your business, what's right for the people you serve. There's a lot of support and encouragement from me on the program and also from the others on the course. So it's a beautiful community that forms around the program. And what I've really built into the program is taking steady and consistent action. So I find often we sign up for courses and we learn a lot and we feel so inspired, and then nothing. So over the course of the 3 months of the program, there's live workshops, there's co-working sessions where we come together and all work on an aspect of our marketing. There's Q&A sessions, and people have access to me, obviously, to ask questions for a second pair of eyes. There's also guest experts on topics like SEO or starting a podcast or social media, all with this philosophy of slow, steady, doing it in a way that's sustainable and doing it ethically as well. People also have a one-to-one with me afterwards. So even after the 3 months, I don't like to leave them. So then in the quarter after the Gentle Marketing Reset, they have a one-to-one with me for that accountability and just making sure that they're keeping up the momentum and the good habits. And I've had lovely feedback from it. So people who really sort of come to the program feeling very overwhelmed and avoiding marketing completely, and then at the end of it feeling in control of it and positive about it. And I mean, some people have said they love marketing at the end, so there's always a risk that you could go from feeling ill about marketing to actually loving it. So yeah, I'm super excited to bring it back again, and I'm excited to see who signs up as well, because it's always, once again, good eggs on the course.
That sounds amazing, and I didn't realize actually that you'd run it so many times already. But I love that you're kind of bringing in that accountability. It's not just here's
Yeah.
some trainings, go do it. They really get to ask you any questions as well. So
Yes.
how do people find out more about it if it sounds like something that they need?
So it will all be on my website. So at the moment, as we speak now, there's an interest list that people can sign up for. And then I will be launching it soon on goodnessmarketing.co.uk. And via my newsletter, I always tell my newsletter subscribers everything first. So if people want to sign up to that, I would welcome them.
Great. I'll put everything in the show notes as well so that people can link straight across to get to your website and have a look.
Thank you.
Okay, so if we go on to a lightning round, because I had so many questions that I wanted to ask, so I thought how best to structure it. Right, what drives you to keep going in your business?
For me, it's the fact that I genuinely love it, and I genuinely care about the people who I serve. And I really believe in the impact that I can create through my purpose, which is to be a force for good in the world.
And what has been the biggest struggle for you as a business owner?
My life is really busy. I've got 2 kids and a house renovation and a dog and lots of interests, and I volunteer. And I've really had to come to terms with the fact that I can't do everything in just 24 hours a day, and that I need to pace myself. I mean, I'm still learning this all the time because I need to save my energy for all those other things that are also important to me. So it's a fine juggle that I sometimes get right or feel like I'm getting it right, and other times not, that I can't do all the things, even though I've got lots of ideas. some of them will have to wait.
Oh, I can definitely relate to that as a mum as well. And just like you say, with other stuff going on, and I'm sure lots of other people will too.
Yes, and I think it's not talked about often enough. And
No.
I certainly came to a realization that at one point I had a bunch of clients and I realized, oh, none of them had kids. And I thought it's a very different scenario. I think it was actually in COVID and I was like homeschooling and all the juggle. And it is a very particular scenario.
Which I think, again, though, it's a perspective that you can bring to your work if someone else does have other commitments or if they are parents. And then that is something that they have to factor in. There's a limit to your time, and you can't just spend hours on marketing or all
And
day doing things.
not just parents. I know a couple of people who care for elderly parents or have other responsibilities. So I think it has made me more empathetic towards people's individual situations. And I think the more we talk about the fact that, I mean, this looks quite, where we're talking now, looks very tidy, but like there's mess everywhere. There's Lego right next to me here. And life is just, not quite as tidy as tidy and sorted as it often looks on Instagram.
Yes. Do you feel that as a society and business owners, we are moving towards more ethical business?
Yes. And I think I think it has its downsides as well. I think it's something that's becoming a little bit sexy and a little bit like, oh, this is good for business. And there's a lot of I mean, I don't want to be judgy, but there's a lot of businesses with unethical practices who are shouting about how amazing they are. Thinking of there's a lot of greenwashing and washings of all sorts, and it really annoys me a lot. So I think, and I don't think it's fair that it's up to consumers to have to go and look at like supply chains and really deeply research. So yes, I do think there's more of a consciousness, but I think there's still a lot of crap around, basically.
Yeah, lots of work to do. Is there a brand that you think does an amazing job with their marketing?
I think there's lots of particularly small businesses who do amazing work for their marketing, especially the ones that just show up authentically. I'm thinking of like my coach, Ray Dodd. I love her marketing because she is very consistent. She is not about being perfectly polished all the time. She's got an amazing podcast. She really serves her audience. So I really like her. She shows up as herself. I admire that. And then for product brands, I've actually had a really good experience just over the last week with Lucy and Yak, the sustainable dungaree. I think of them as dungaree makers. They make lots of other things, but I love their marketing. It really speaks to me. I'm obviously one of their target audience, but I love how they draw their values through everything. There's a fine like thread that just pulls everything together. And I've had some customer service things, so I had to deal with their customer service team, and all of that was just completely aligned. And I like that because I see a lot of like jarring experiences where brands might say they're one thing, but then you speak to the customer service and it's not the same. So I really like that consistency of their brand. And also, I'm a sucker for Patagonia. I'll just always admire what Patagonia does as well.
Such a good point, though, that it's, yeah, the marketing can be great, but then if it actually leads to an experience that isn't so good, whether that's on like their website or customer service side, or even in the delivery of a good or service, then yeah, that's
And
no
it's
good
all
at all.
brand. It's
Yeah.
like a consciously created brand will think of all those aspects,
Mhm.
like not just the marketing, not just the social media. And I feel, yeah, Lucy and Yak, even their colors and their design, like everything just works together. And I love that.
I've got some Lucy and Yak dungarees too. What is the main piece of advice you would give to someone who comes to you and they've just started their business and have done no marketing? Where would you say to start?
um, First of all, I would say show up as you, like drown out the noise of everything that's out there. Because the first thing we do when we start a business and we don't know about a topic is we Google it. And if you're going to Google how to do marketing, you're going to find a lot of crap that's not aimed at businesses like you. I find a lot of the mainstream marketing advice is aimed at businesses that have teams and big budgets, and possibly a different approach to you. So I would say drown out the noise, show up as you, and don't try to do everything. Look at the basics, which I think the foundational aspects are so important. Figuring out what you're about as a business, what your values are, what your key marketing messages are, who you're trying to reach, where they hang out, and then consider those factors against what you need to achieve in your business and how you can do it sustainably. So it's no good making very fancy, lofty plans and then it sits there stuck on your wall or as a spreadsheet and you don't action it. So figure out what you can sustainably do. And even if you start small, just do something.
Yeah, I guess that kind of covers, because the next one was going to be, what do you think people miss out on when it comes to their marketing strategy?
Yeah, I think a sustainable plan, being realistic. Either people don't have a plan and it's just all like jumbled in their head and they bumble forward, or they make amazing plans and it's not sustainable. Another one is making time for marketing even when they don't see the results, or sort of doing things that feel like busy work really. So, oh, I'll just do an Instagram post, but not taking the time to think, is this going to have a positive impact on my business? Is this actually helping over time? Are my audience here? And speaking of social media, definitely putting all their eggs in a social media basket. And I really feel so strongly that people need to spend most of their effort on their websites and their email marketing, and that they can form a much more sustainable marketing plan if they focus on those aspects that they own, rather than being at the mercy of whatever Elon Musk or Mark Zuckerberg or whatever decides on the day.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you have any top tips for marketing ethically?
Um, do marketing that aligns with your integrity. Do it in a way that you're proud to share with the world, that you won't be ashamed or feel like you need to make excuses for it. That you're proud to share, not because it's perfect, but because it's honest and it's real and it's true to you. So yeah, stick to your integrity guns. See, another military reference.
Oh, yeah. When you said that earlier, I was like, gosh, it's so true, isn't it? And a lot of the terminology, yeah, as you say, probably comes from that, or is just not that nice wording as well.
Clickbait,
Yeah,
targets, like all of it. It's just ugh.
yeah. And one final question, what does creating a conscious brand mean to you?
For me, it's about having a purpose that's greater than just making money, wanting to have an impact, and being prepared to be brave to go off the beaten track and taking a different route to other people, because that's where the magic lies and that's where the enjoyment is, and that's where we will create a new world.
Yeah. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk today. I think there's lots of gems in there. How can people find out more about you? How can they connect with you?
So I am trying to embrace LinkedIn more in 2023. So I'm hanging out there a bit more. I love Instagram. It's goodness marketing on Instagram. But yeah, my newsletter is the place where I put my heart and soul in, and I chat to people every Sunday at 5 o'clock UK time. So if people want to sign up to that, it's goodnessmarketing.co.uk/newsletter.
Great. I'll put all those links in the show notes as well. Thank you for your time today.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for listening to today's episode of The Consciously Created Brand.